Well, in this episode, we're going to get right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're going to be talking about storytelling and kind of like how we approach weddings and what we bring and kind of, just a little bit about how we storytell at weddings and how we keep going at weddings.
Yes.
So starting off, with weddings, my approach is very like intuitive and
I like
very,
that word.
intuitive. And also I do pose a little bit. So I'd say like I'm a good mixture of both, where I'm like not strictly like posing every single shot, but just like where sometimes people need it. Sometimes people need a little like, okay, because they're looking at me with wide eyes and like looking around like, what's next? So I try to like guide them too. Not so much. I'm not always posing. I feel like I'm mostly sometimes guiding them to whatever needs to happen next or whatever. But what really changed everything for me, just see weddings not just as like posed photos and more of like a story, was like, and also just not that it's just a wedding or not that it's just like a timeline, because I used to be very like go with the timeline and whatever the timeline says I'm gonna do, and it's just gonna be like very posed. And I never saw weddings as like stories. I did in a way, it just in a different way, where it was just like every photo had to be perfect, every photo had to be in good light, every photo had to be just like picture perfect in every single way, like every single photo. So I always curated my weddings that way. And it wasn't until I saw like more of like a character driven story at all my weddings, and I saw it more as like every story is going to be different. So like when you're reading books, every story is going to be different. There's going to be like some stories that have like a similar like plot and just kind of like plot twists and endings, but they're all different. They all have different characters. And that's kind of like how I saw weddings, is like, oh yeah, not every wedding is going to be the same. Not every couple's going to have their grandparents there. Not every couple's going to have like certain people there. And so when I started seeing weddings as stories with like characters and just like not every wedding's going to be the same, that's when I really started to dig into like the emotion of the wedding and the characters of the wedding, like the main characters, the side characters, all of that stuff. That's when I really changed my style of shooting my weddings.
It's like less going through the motions and, like you said, being intentional with like what you're taking photos of.
Yes, exactly. And just like really realizing, because I know weddings can be so stressful. So when you're like in that stress state, that all you want to do is just capture the picture that you're about to capture and not worry about anything that's happening. But it really does take skill to be able to take the picture, but also see what's happening around you and like kind of like hearing the conversations that are happening behind you during family photos or like during any time of the day, really, is just like trying to chase like the story, what's next, even if it has nothing to do with the bride and groom. Because I think when I first started too, that's all I focused on was the bride and groom. But now I really focus on everyone else too. So I'm always listening to like what people are saying behind me and kind of like just looking out and not just following my bride and groom around every single like second of the day, and like really seeing what's happening around them too, because I think those are the moments they want to know about as well.
Yeah. And I feel like that's when some people ask me like, how do you even take candid photos? Like how do you even do that? And I think that's what you're saying, is being aware of what's happening and anticipating moments before they happen.
Yes.
And it's like,
and that takes skill.
It is an acquired skill, because I feel like the more weddings you shoot, the more you kind of know what's going to happen.
Yes.
The more, like, even though everyone is very, like, different, you can kind of know, like, when a moment's going to happen. Like, like, if mom walks into the room and she sees, like, you know, the bride already dressed and they're about to get in their dress, like, you know she's about to tear up. You know, like, you know these, like, you know the emotions of a wedding day, so that you can kind of be looking for who is going to express that emotion. And that's when you can get good candids.
Yeah. And sometimes I think about that too, where you'll notice, you really have to notice during wedding days and not be, because I feel like I used to be so stressed out that it was just like, I wasn't able to even like connect or emotionally connect with what was happening. So it does take skill. So like at the very beginning of weddings, it was just so stressful because I just didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And so that's why I'm like saying that it takes skill to be able to like realize those things, and just like the more you do it, the better it'll get. But one of my like favorite moments during a wedding is, speaking of like anticipation, is like when they kiss. After they kiss, not that moment that they're kissing is the moment after is what you're wanting, because they always do something. Every couple is different, but they'll always do something. They'll like kiss, they'll do a handshake, they'll do something in like celebratory way, especially when they're like either doing their first kiss or they're walking down, they kiss again. Something happens right after that moment, and that's like the moment that you want to capture. So it's really like looking at things like that, like things that always happen, but what happens before or after those moments are really what like really tells that couple's story and who they are.
Yeah, because those are the moments that are different than everyone kisses.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
exactly. Yeah, just like realizing those moments. But yeah, so tell me more about your like storytelling.
Yeah, so my approach is a little bit different. I like only book couples who know that I'm not going to pose them. And so I'm basically a fly on the wall the whole time. And hold on, I had some notes about this. Let me pull up my little phone. I gather a lot of like inspiration from street photography. And so if I can be as inconspicuous
yes,
as possible, and people don't know that I'm about to take the photo, that's the photos that I like to take. And that's kind of like very like street photography inspired. And so I just kind of like let my couples know that I'm just hanging out with them all day. And yeah, it's just very like fly on the wall. I don't give a lot of direction unless they ask for it. And typically it goes well for me because the type of clients that I book hate taking photos, or they hate being the center of attention. They're not looking for me to like have a stage moment or a posed moment. And so that works out well for me. My type of like the way that I do things would not work if the client was wanting to be posed.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So I just wanted to make that clear. Like you have to be very clear with the types of clients that you book. But yeah, the only time that I do like post photos, and this is what I will say, is like before the wedding day, you really just have to know what you're walking into. I always ask my couples, like, do you want family photos? Like, I think we just kind of all assume that that's just part of the timeline, and a lot of planners will just put that into the timeline. But I've had couples who don't want family photos. Maybe they're estranged with their family, or maybe they just don't want to spend time doing that and it's not a priority to them. So I always ask, like, what is your priority? Do you want any post portraits? Because we can take time to do them and we will do them. But I just always want to know, like, what they want.
Yeah, no, exactly. And even for me, what I wrote down is like before the day even starts, I think about like what kind of story is this couple living? And so that kind of goes into like, what do they even want? Like, do they even want post photos? Do they not want post photos? And I very much like morph into kind of like what kind of photographer they want me to be in a way, because I still have ideal clients and I still want certain types of clients. So it's not like I'm morphing my photography style to every single type of client. It's more so like my own style will morph into like what they want, if that makes sense. Because I have some couples that are like, no, I want so many post photos that I don't even know what to do with. Or like they want like a lot of couples portraits, not so much pose, but they want a lot of couples portraits. So then I make it a priority on their day to have enough time to do that. And so if they're not wanting a lot of family photos, we'll add more time for couples portraits, or we'll do it like in increments. Like at the beginning of the day after their first look, we'll do some. After they do wedding party portraits, we'll do some. So it's like every one of my clients is so different, but they still have that same style that I like, which is like, I want to be able to guide them. And then some moments I don't want to say anything. I just want to be there for the moment. And then there's some moments where I want to be there. I want to be posting them. I want to be like getting those photos. So my style is really different than most.
It's intentional, like you said.
Yeah.
It just fits their story.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I'm always like asking them like what's important, or asking myself really what's important to them, what's a unique about their dynamic, and how that shows up visually for their own story. And so that's why I like getting to know my clients a lot beforehand and talking to them about what they're wanting for their wedding day. Because you're right, really is this like rigid timeline in weddings where it has to be like this. If you do a first look, this has to happen right after, all of those things. And so I really like to dig deep with them too and be like, okay, what do you actually want? Like, what are the photos that you're going to want in a few years, or in 10 years, really 20 years? What are the photos that are going to be important to you? And of course I tell them about like my approach too, of like how intentional I am with like, I'm not always going to be there to guide you. And that's because the moment's happening naturally. Do whatever feels right in that moment. I don't want to be like, oh, hug your mom, or like do this or do that. And so that's not my type of style. But yeah, I feel like I'm a good mixture of both. And it does really come down to what client I'm talking to, because they're all so different. But I love that about my clients. And that's why it's like so important to know your brand and to know what kind of clients you want for your brand and what they're looking for. And so, like on my website, I wrote this down too. I say a lot, my job isn't to stage a perfect vision of your wedding. It's to tell like the truth of it with feeling and all the real stuff. That's what matters the most in the long run. And so I'm going into it with intention of like, what is my couple wanting in this moment? And like, am I going to ruin a moment if I step in, or am I not? So again, like reading the room is really important too.
Emotional intelligence is like the currency for this game.
I know, it really is. It really is. Being able to read a room and not interrupt when things are happening is really, really, really important, because I've had some moments be ruined by not me, but other people.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's always so frustrating.
But yeah, if you're listening to this and kind of feeling like burnt out by the wedding, like the wedding industry, it's probably because some you're doing something that's not like, you're probably shooting in a way that doesn't make sense for you or doesn't make sense for your clients. Because I feel like that sometimes when photographers are like talking about it and they're like shooting in a way that doesn't even make sense to like what they're describing, what they want. And so I think a lot of it has to do with that. But yeah, that mindset shift of like telling stories and not just like a rigid wedding is what really gave me that like groove back, and being able to be like, oh, not every wedding has to be the same. It doesn't have to.
I would like, when I first started weddings, I did like 3 of them, and then I was put off, and I was like, I'm not doing weddings anymore. I'm only doing families, because I felt that like rigid, like, I don't know. And I literally,
like, nothing must change. Like, it has to be this way.
I was also reflecting this past weekend when I was second shooting, and I was like, you know what? When I first started, I would only take photos during the time on the timeline that it told me to take photos. Like, if it wasn't on the timeline, I was sitting.
Yes.
I was just not doing anything. And I think about now, and I'm like, I'm constantly taking photos throughout the day. Like, I'm not even following the timeline of that. And it's like, it's wild to like think about how, this is a story that we're telling. It's not just like, I mean, like, it's literally, I guess it's what the client wants, but for you to feel like it's your artistry and like your soul and like you're giving a part of yourself, it is storytelling. Because if not, they would have just hired someone to like come in and take like product photos of like the details. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're wanting you there to tell a story. Even if they don't know how to articulate that. Everybody wants to feel like they're the main character in their own story.
In their own story. Yes. No, that's so true. And that's why it's so hard when people are like, all I want is candids, but then they have this rigid timeline. I'm like, well, you're not getting candids that way. Or like if they want to hang out with their bridesmaids and they want candids, but they don't have anything planned, you're not getting candids. Like if you don't have anything planned to do with your bridesmaids, like, I don't know, champagne toast or like dance around to your favorite music or anything, like those aren't candids. Like I'm going to have to do something to, get a picture of you. And so that's really also just talking to your clients about like how you actually even get like candid moments or, I feel like a lot of people are just like wanting candids, but they don't know how to get the actual candids, or they think that me guiding them is going to get the candids, but it's really about like how they plan and structure their day around like getting candids. But I've been telling people like, how can you actually make candids happen? Well, that's like planning something for you and your bridesmaids, whether it's like giving them gifts or getting everyone to do a champagne toast or like dancing around to your favorite music for a little bit or something like that to kind of like create those candid moments. But that also makes sense to you. Like it's not just doing it for the photo.
Yeah.
But I'm also okay with that too. I love a good photo too. So I don't know. It just depends on the type of client that I'm talking to as well. That's why I always say I'm like a really good mixture of both, because I'm like one of those people that really, really wants to get like really good photos.
Well, and you're very like editorial too.
Yeah, so. And if you plan it out, I want to get the photo for you,
right?
But it also just needs to make sense to them as like a person too. Like it would be weird for me to do like dancing photos. I don't dance,
right?
So it has to make sense to the couple. So it's really hard to describe my style, I think, if you have like a different style than me, because it's like very, I don't know. I feel like I really mix and match to my couples. I feel like
your energy is relaxed, and so it's like it's almost like a relaxed style, but intentional. Like you said.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. That is a good,
because you're not over here like staging every moment, like making sure everything's perfect. Like let's do that 5 more times to get the shot. Like you're not doing that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like way more relaxed than that. Like it's very natural, but it's also just intentional. So like I've always said, your strength is like taking something that is not pretty and making it pretty. Like you're so good at like just framing everything to make it look so beautiful.
Wow, that's so sweet. Thank you.
That's what I believe.
I know, but it's just so sweet. I'm like, oh.
Whereas like me like shooting just things as they are, if it's ugly, my photo's gonna look ugly. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's true. Your photos aren't ugly. And even if it is like ugly, it tells a story. So it's different.
Yeah.
You know? It tells a different story. So it doesn't matter if it's ugly in a way, because it tells the story in the way that you want to tell the story. So it like makes sense for you. So no, and I think your photography is beautiful the way you do it. So it just really depends on just like how you want to shoot wedding days. Like you can do it however you want. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of owning your own business and being able to do whatever you want. But yeah, something that I'm always asking too is like, what will actually matter to them in like 10 years? And really going into the wedding day like that, instead of like all those pose like family portraits, their couples portraits, everything that you're like gonna pose, like what's gonna matter to them in 10 years? And like, again, like with like following them around every second of the whole day, it's like, what can I also focus on? Like their grandparents are here, their nieces and nephews are here. Like those are the moments that they may not want tomorrow, but they're going to want to look back at those in like 10 years and really focus on like the people that they actually invited to the wedding. Because I feel like a lot of my old galleries were just like kind of like just of the couple. Yeah. Like there's rarely any other people in there besides like when they're like partying and like doing the reception. But even then it was like almost just like the couple and then the people around them.
Yeah.
It wasn't ever just like certain people or just like any photos without the bride and groom, which is crazy.
I feel like when you're like first start, like that kind of stuff isn't glamorous.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it feels like, why would I take photos of other people?
Yeah.
I'm here for the couple.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when like you realize like, oh, those are my couple's favorite people.
Yeah, that's like, why they were invited.
Yeah. It's not, this is like,
It's so true. It's so true. That's something, that took me a while to understand and be able to take photos of things that also don't look as pretty or like picture perfect, but it's like people are just doing something silly or like their guests are just doing something that I'm just like, oh, this is so cute. Like I gotta get
like I think of that one photo you took when the bride was sick all day and she came in for the surprise like ceremony, and she came when she's walking in, there's like, you know, like server tables behind her and like trash cans, but it's like part of the story.
Yes, exactly. And if that were like to be photoshopped out, it would not have told the story of like these people already ate. They had the whole wedding without this couple because they didn't think that she was going to be there for the ceremony. So they're already partying, dancing. They already ate. Like, trash is everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they're about to have a ceremony. Not picture perfect, but that tells the story of like what just happened. So yeah, no, that's so true. I always think about that wedding too, of like how that would definitely not like Instagram feed worthy, but it is because it tells the story.
Yeah. Because if you would have edited out those tables, it would have just looked like she was just walking.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, it tells a bigger picture. No, that's so true.
Oh, I kind of wanted to talk about like why we shoot film, because I feel like people shoot film for tons of different reasons, and I feel like for me, I shoot film to add to my gallery in a different way. I'm not really trying to match like my digital and my film images. I want the film to be like distinctly different. And why I like to shoot on different cameras is because I feel like each camera requires something different from me. And so like one of my cameras, it's all manual focus. So I really have to slow down and be in the moment. And I feel like that's why I like adding film into my process, because it really makes me be like, okay, I only have like 3 photos on this camera. Like they better count, you know?
Yeah.
And then I like just like having the different feel and the different textures that the film brings, because it's just like an extra oomph to the gallery, I feel like.
Yes. No, I'm the exact same way. That's why I started shooting film too, is to help me slow down, because I used to be very fast, very like just very fast. Like I used to just zoom through pictures, everything. And so film definitely helped me slow down, because you really do have to slow down. You can't just take pictures of everything. Every frame really does have to count, because film is just, you can only take 36 photos on like 35 millimeter film. And so you really have to be extra careful of like what you're taking photos of, and just like, yeah, like you said, slowing down. My 35 millimeter isn't manual, but it's still, even that like the process of it makes you slow down so much.
You kind of like hold your breath and you're like,
yes,
okay, here we go.
And also I'll catch myself like during wedding days, like just holding my film camera, like waiting for the like a moment to happen, and sometimes it doesn't happen, so I have to put it back down. So it's like you really have to like slow down. Is like, okay, is this picture gonna like be like wedding gallery worthy? Like, does this tell a story? Does this say anything? No. And my film camera, something about holding that film camera will tell me yes or no very quickly. Instead of just like bringing my digital and just taking like 100 shots of something that really doesn't matter, that I shouldn't even have taken photos of.
Yeah.
And so, or even just like taking one photo. Like, what is it with my digital camera that I just want to take 100 photos of the same thing? I'm like, but yeah, with film, it's helped me learn that same technique, but with digital, of like just waiting for a moment to happen instead of just like clicking until it happens or it doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
It makes your life so much easier. So yeah, I definitely think that too, especially with just like different film cameras as well. They all do tell like a different story, and like the different textures, the different colors. I use different cameras for certain things, like that I know how it'll look on film. And that's how I want it to look.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for example, my Canon AE1, which is manual focus, I exclusively only shoot black and white film in that camera, because there's something about it. I don't know. It makes you feel like you're in the 40s. And the images are just so dreamy. And so I can see like a moment that's playing out in my head, and I'm like, I want that in black and white.
Yes.
And so I'll grab that camera, and then if I didn't get it, I didn't get it, you know? But most of the time I do get it. And then, we both shoot on Holga. I use that for different things that I know that image is going to feel, and like just make you more like emotive in the moment than
Yes.
it would be on digital.
Yeah. Holga for me at a reception, it's just like I love reception photos with Holga and certain things throughout the day, but mostly receptions. And I don't know what it is. I think it's like the contrast, like how fun it is, and like anytime I like shoot my Holga on the dance floor, people are like automatically more inclined to take the photo than it would be on digital, which I've noticed too, because it feels more like silly or fun, because it's just like it looks like a toy camera, so it's not as intimidating as like an actual like big camera. So it just like, I don't know, the images almost feel more authentic on my Holga than they do on my digital camera, like during a reception with Holga. So, and that's things you learn.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that on my first wedding day that I brought it to, but now I know like certain images I'm going to get better on a Holga than I would on digital than I would on my 35 millimeter film camera. And so it's fun just incorporating the film photos with the digital gallery, because it just looks so different and unique, and just like tells a different story than digital photos.
It's almost like putting like different emotions into the gallery.
Yes.
Like like just like an added extra layer, because like yes, you can tell different emotions with digital, I'm not saying that, but like when all the digitals kind of are on the same plane,
in comparison,
and then you like sprinkle in a film photo, there's like a different kind of like emotion, like I don't know,
you
I
feel
love
something
it.
different than you would a digital photo, especially like I said, like in comparison to all the digital, and then you add in that film photo, you're like, oh, it's like different, it just like pops out a little bit more. So I love film for that reason too, and just having different film cameras for different things, and just knowing what you like. And I've been getting so much better at film, and also finding lab too, that is so important. I didn't think it was important at the beginning, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I didn't like actually find they're all pretty good, but just like my style of like lab is so important. So if you're getting into film, I would definitely suggest like hopping on to different labs just to see like which one you like more than the other.
Yeah.
Because they're all so different.
Yeah.
And I realized that a little too late, I feel like.
Yeah. I know. Like, because I've been I went to one lab for like 2 years, and then I was going to one near me for like 9 months, and now I just found another one that's really amazing. I'm like, oh my god, I'm switching.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wait, what's the new lab?
Prisma.
Oh yes. Okay.
So good. They're formerly known by Lone Star, I think.
Oh, okay.
But their scans, their colors are just perfection. Like I barely have to edit.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm currently using Goodman Film Labs, and I love their scans. I barely have to edit their scans too, so I'm just like, oh, it just like perfect. It's just perfect. So that's something that I feel like I learned too late. It was like the labs of it all, but definitely like switch up labs if you feel like maybe I don't really love these scans too much.
You can also tell your lab like, hey, I want these greens more this way, and they can do that for you when they scan. Yeah. And there's some labs too that kind of like, if you do want to match your film to your digital, that they'll try to do that for you as well. It just depends on the lab. Some labs are just kind of like, you just give it to them and that's it. Like they're just going to edit the way they want to edit. But there are some labs that kind of give you the freedom to kind of see like, oh, just match it to my Instagram or match it to this photo or like whatever it is. So yeah, definitely get a good lab is what I've been learning recently. So yeah, but love film. Love that it slows us down, especially with that storytelling aspect of it all, of just like slowing down and anticipating those moments. Because film, you can't just take 20 photos and be like, oh, hopefully I got one. Right.
I mean, you could, but you'd be spending a lot of money.
I feel like when you first start, that is how it is though. You're like, it's just such a
you're just learning.
Yeah,
you're just learning. But yeah, love film. So now we can talk about like what's in our bags, like what gear we actually use. So take it away, Miranda. What gear do you use?
Okay, my digital setup is the Canon R6 with the 28-70 2.0 lens, and literally that is it. Okay, once I found that lens, I've had it for like 2 years now, and I literally haven't purchased another lens because I just don't need it. Especially like I was saying, how I have all those different film cameras that kind of give me a different feel, I feel like
You don't
my
need anything
digital
else.
setup is just all I need.
Yeah.
And so for my film cameras, I have the Canon AE1, which I shoot black and white film on, like I said. I have the Holga, which is 120 film. And then I have another Canon. It's like a really, really, really old film camera. I think it's called the Elon EOS.
Oh.
And that's what I shoot color 35 millimeter on.
Oh, okay. Okay. Amazing.
And that one's more automatic than my other
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So it's way easier.
Yeah.
But those are all the cameras that I have. I'm looking to add one more film camera to my workflow. I want another medium format camera.
Same.
But I'm still trying to figure out which one I want.
Yeah. 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 I'm like that too. I either need to, I think I need to update one of my cameras, upgrade one of my cameras, just because my other camera is a little older. But I shoot Nikon, and I shoot with Nikon Z6 IIIs, and I'm up until this year, I've been prime only. The primes that I like to use is 35-50. And recently, or this year, I bought a new zoom lens, which I had never used zoom lenses in my entire career as a photographer, as a wedding photographer. Only sometimes when I would rent them for like,
I was
like
scared
if I
long.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I was scared. I just love prime lenses.
Yeah.
They just give something that a zoom lens just does not give. But the only time I would like do it for weddings is like if I had a Catholic church wedding, I would rent a zoom lens because, you know, I had to. And so this year I found one for Nikon because Nikon doesn't have a 24-70. Is that what it is? 24-70 2.0?
28 to 70.
Oh, 28.
The
Okay.
24 to 70 is like a
2.8 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's usually what they are for like all cameras across the board. But Canon has that lens that a lot of wedding photographers love, but they don't have one for Nikon. And so I recently this year bought a zoom lens that's a 35-150, and it's a 2.0, but only to certain ranges. So it's not exclusively like 2.0 for every single, like if you go up to 150, it's not going to do 2.0, which is fine for me. But it's a really good alternative if you're wanting to have something like Canon does, but you have Nikon. And hopefully one day they'll come out with it. But honestly, I really don't feel like I need one because I love prime lenses so much. But I do love this zoom lens because it really does sometimes make life a lot easier than having to either scoot in or scoot out, or like, I don't know, because sometimes in some moments you don't want to be all up in their face. And with the 35, you have to be if you want to get a closer shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really does help with that. So I have been loving that zoom lens a lot, especially during like ceremonies, just because, again, like I don't want to be like 10 inches away from the couple and like try to get like zoomed in shots. And so the zoom lens does help a lot. But other than the ceremony, I really do like trying to just use my prime lenses because it just gives a different look. I love a 50 prime. I always will, but a zoom lens does help you when you're a wedding photographer. It really does.
So you primarily have like a 35 and a 50, is that what you said?
Yeah, and it just depends also on the wedding, but I usually now I'll have that zoom lens on one camera and then my 50 prime on the other because I love my 50 for portraits, like any portraits that we take, whether it's couples portraits, wedding party photos, anything like that. I like having a prime, but honestly, I've been loving my zoom lens anyways too. I really don't see like a huge difference in like the style or like quality in it. So it's just kind of one of those where I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if it's not a prime. And sometimes like things happen so fast that I'm just going to have to use my zoom lens for some things on a wedding day. But I do love that lens. And then I shoot with a Nikon F100 for my 35 millimeter film. And that one is amazing. It literally looks like it's a DSLR, but it's not. It is such a good camera. And I love my 35 millimeter film on that. And then I have a Holga for film as well. And so those are the cameras that I use. And I'm trying to think, I also want another one, like medium format film camera, but I'm also like, maybe I should upgrade one of my backup cameras to a newer camera too. So it's just kind of, because film cameras these days are as much as a freaking digital. It's crazy.
I think like the gap that I'm wanting to fill with another camera is like being really, because the only 120 camera that I have is the Holga, and I feel like that's a very different like feeling and style.
Yeah.
And so I want the same feeling where it's like I only have 12 images.
Yes.
But I want it on more of like a camera that I can take a portrait on.
Yes.
And
Same.
so because I feel like that's the only gap that I really have in my flow of things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what I want for that too.
Yeah. Same. And then also a part of just gear, I always bring a lunchbox.
Yes.
In emergency items to weddings.
Yes.
I always bring snacks, applesauce, water, electrolytes, like another energy drink if I need one. Like I always bring snacks, and I'm snacking throughout the day, guys. I am
every 2 hours.
Yeah, every 2 hours. I forgot to mention, but I do have a harness, double camera harness, and I'm looking into getting a spider holster as well. So having dual camera harness and then a spider holster for all the other cameras.
Yeah, actually, I want to buy the spider before I get another camera.
I know. It's crazy. It's like, okay, well, I just need, there's so many so expensive too. Yeah. Camera gear is so expensive. But yeah, so that. And then I have Pelican cases for all my camera gear and flashes. I don't know if we want to get into that, but I have Godox flashes for my on-camera flash, and then I have Godox flashes for off-camera flash. And I'll bring my off-camera flashes just in case, because sometimes I feel like I don't need them, and sometimes I feel like I need them, and it's always good to have them just in case. Because you never know what's going to happen. Some places don't have very good lighting, or flashes adds a little extra oomph to a photo, so I always carry that around. And but yeah, so lunchbox to emergency items like deodorant. What else do I usually bring? Body wipes. I have like Tide sticks, like painkillers, any type of pill that you need for motion sickness. Like literally, I have it all. Like I am no stranger to things happening at a wedding. Yeah. So I have everything that anybody needs. Tampons, like a little tiny sewing kit. Like I have everything. Because you never know what's going to happen, whether it's you or anybody on the wedding party or the bride or the groom. Like you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. Your second shooter, the planner needs something. Like there's always something. An extra pair of shoes.
Yes.
That's also a really, really big game changer. Extra pair of shoes, extra outfit too. Has been like game changing, especially for hot days. Winter weddings, you don't need all that. But for, Texas summer weddings, even in the spring, sometimes I feel like I sweat a lot. So having an extra outfit just like changed things tremendously for a wedding day. But I think that's about it. Was there anything else we were going to add to that? I think that was everything.
Yeah, I think that's all my notes. Well, I had here, like, if anyone's interested, I get a lot of questions about taking candids and, like, what, like, lenses and cameras and focal lengths that you need for that. So for me, like, when I'm shooting details, I'm always sitting at, like, a 35 or a 50. And then dance floor, always 28. Always 28. Like, get as close as you can and 28. That's what I do.
That's so funny. Mine's a 24 prime.
Okay, yeah.
Is what I shoot.
So always wide.
Yes.
And then for candids, I'm literally sitting at 35 to get like the whole room, or I zoom all the way to 70. I'm a sucker for like getting a tear or like getting like an eye crinkle or something like that.
Something emotional. Yeah. I'm basically the same way. All my details are on prime. So my detail photos, like at the beginning of the day, like invitation suites, they're on a 35. And then I like to shoot my reception details for a wide shot. Of course, I'll go as wide as I can. But for like close-ups, tablescapes, everything like that, I'll shoot either on a 35 or a 50 prime. And something that I also do that not a lot of people do is, well, when I first started, I was shooting it wide open. All my detail photos were wide open, like 1.8, but now I shoot them at like 4.5.
Yeah, same.
And I feel like that's a really big game changer. You don't think it makes a difference, but it makes a difference.
Especially for planners.
Yeah.
They want to see everything in focus.
Yeah, exactly. I look back at old photos, I'm like, that looked like a really good shot, but now that I've like done it differently, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much better. And the thing about detail photos is that it's not a moving subject. So you can have your aperture up to like 4.5 and then you don't have to have it at like 1/8,000 because it's not moving. Right. So you can push your aperture a little bit more and your ISO. So don't be scared to do that, because I feel like at the beginning, like when you're learning, I feel like everyone wants to shoot wide open.
Yes.
For some reason, I don't know what it is.
I think it's because like the creaminess is like something that's so different.
Yes. And when you first start. Yeah.
You're like, whoa, I can do that?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's so true. So now I definitely push myself to do more, like 4.5, and even then that's still kind of a little too wide open. Like if you can push all the way to like maybe like 6, that would be ideal, because then everything is beautifully in focus. Like it just looks so much better than if one stem from the flower vase is in focus.
Right. The only time I ever shoot like really low is like if I'm doing like a very up close photo of like the texture of the florals. Yeah. That's like the only time I do.
Yeah. So that's a quick little tip about detail photos that I started doing, is like shooting a little bit more open. Like 4.5 is probably like my go-to for detail photos that are like close up of like the tablescapes. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking about something else, another setting of mine for something else, but I can't think of it now. If I think about it, I'll list it in the next podcast episode. But I think that's it. If you have any questions, please let us know. We'll answer any storytelling questions, photography questions, detail questions, anything that you have or questions on. Let us know. We'll be there to answer it for you. Be as specific as possible. We'd love to. And then
we can shout you out on the next pod.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But
so you should do it.
That's it for today. Thank you guys so much for listening again. We love y'all, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.